We knew it was going to happen, but the Five Nights at Freddy's movie has got the fanbase completely split with a very mixed reception. Some claim it's the greatest movie ever, while others are up in arms so much that they're causing literal fights in the movie theaters. With Rotten Tomatoes still waiting to release an official score, I've rounded up the reviews to see if this movie is worth seeing. We'll start off with discussing film. They kick off their review by saying that Blumhouse's adaptation lacks all horror, and it doesn't really get any better as the review goes on. They make an interesting point that producer Jason Blum claims the film has already made back more than its $25 million production budget before the movie was even released. Just from streaming and theatrical distribution rights alone, this means that at least commercially, Five Nights at Freddy's will be an extremely successful movie. But discussing film echo the sentiment that I keep repeatedly seeing online, that Five Nights at Freddy's prioritizes appealing to general audiences of all ages over capturing the franchise's true scare factor. The movie does a good job of panning out the main character's story, as let's face it was always going to be hard to portray a first-person view survive the night style game, so discussing gives credit in that department at least. DF says that the film starts off extremely slow, claiming that even the focal point of being in the office with Mike past midnight is underwhelming, and that it takes a full hour and 50 minutes to get the movie to pick up momentum and deliver a surprise twist. DF claims that the movie struggles with its identity, unable to decide how serious or unserious it wants to be, so it makes it difficult to engage with the plot. The standouts of the movie, unsurprisingly, are the animatronics, which just happen to be courtesy of Jim Henson's Creature Shop. DF says they all look fantastic and boast a tangible screen presence, saying it's hard not to fall in love with them. They highlight one of the best moments as Freddy and the gang covering Talking in Your Sleep by the Romantics. They end the review by explaining that this is not the anxiety-inducing terror and paranoia experience you get with the games, and feels that the PG-13 rating holds the film back at times, and it's obvious when they are trying to appeal to a more general audience. The review is then signed off with a brutal 2.5 stars out of 5. Moving on to Collider's review, and this definitely doesn't bring our hopes back up. They open with the title, a horrifyingly robotic video game adaptation, which sets the tone for the rest of the review. The review echoes much of what was being said by discussing film, but Collider's key takeaway points about Five Nights were, the movie fails to offer any scares and instead focuses too much on explaining the lore of its world, resulting in a dull and uninteresting experience. The movie's reliance on flashbacks and excessive expositions feel exhausting and demonstrates a lack of trust in its audience, and that the film fails to capture the terror and simplicity that made the game successful, resulting in a forgettable horror flick. Collider again confirmed the same as discussing film, stating that the finale provides an electrifying shock to the system, but again says it was too little too late. And the last review to tie things together, we have Digital Spy, who open with the line, a faithful adaptation with no edge. I'm kind of guessing you can see where this is going here. Digital Spy say the movie is packed with video game nods, but lumbered by generic plot, and points out that not only will this disappoint fans, but leave newcomers wondering what all the fuss was about. The movie script is based off the first 3 games, with the setup from the first game, but it does draw many references from established Five Nights lore. A plus side again is that the animatronics seem to be spot-on recreations of the game characters, and that the story does pull in various bits of canon and will leave fans delighted with various Easter eggs, but that's about as far as the enjoyment goes. The story is labelled bland, and again Digital Spy discussed the numerous instances where the intensity could have ramped up, but instead it's obvious the route of appeasing the general audience was taken. Digital Spy signed the review off with a score of 2 stars out of 5. Listen, I'm no stranger to knowing critics' reviews can vary differently from the audience, but it's worrying to see the exact same issues repeated in each review. The film was marketed for the fans, even to the point where the embargo was delayed by a day to allow fans not to be swayed by negative critic reviews, but it's left me thinking, who was the movie made for? The obvious answer should be the fans, but from every bit of feedback so far, it seems the movie has an identity crisis and doesn't even know itself. Various points are mentioned about too much hand-holding of the audience with the story, showing a lack of confidence in the audience to work things out as they go, leading to a lot of story filler via flashbacks. When the rating was released, fans weren't expecting horrendous levels of gore, but at a bare minimum you want the anxiety levels knocked to 100 now and again, and just to feel that level of tension that ends in a brutal jump scare. It feels like the movie just tries to play it too safe, leading to being stuck in a limbo as to whether it's trying to be a silly movie or a serious one. If you want to see your favourite game recreated on the big screen with loads of Easter eggs and YouTube cameos, then this is for you. But if you're after a faithful recreation of the intense scare factor you get when playing the Five Nights series, you may want to give this one a miss. As always, we'll be giving you the latest entertainment news and updates, and while you're here, go check out this video.